Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Fantastic Four issue 16. And this was a pretty good issue. We got more into the lore of what's going on with Spire and the Unparalleled, and we're seeing it through key different perspectives of being like the Thing, Johnny, and of course Reed and Sue. So with the Thing, we see him kind of figuring out what's going on in the lower levels, and throughout the issue, it all kind of like links up and everything, where he's fighting pretty much this giant horde of King Scrum, and of course, getting to the point of fighting King Scrum. Pretty cool. The dude's like talking trash on him, thinking he'd be taller and bigger and everything, since he was one of the foretold. And while this is going on, we do see that the Overseer is giving Reed and Sue the kind of lowdown that when uh, Reed and Sue and the rest of the gang were doing their first mission to this place with the whole scan, Hesperians were able to figure out the information that was gathered from there. They kind of freaked out and were like, oh shit, they're coming to pretty much kill us and everything. So they were figuring out what to do. Since the Fantastic Four tried to pretty much get there but got knocked out because of the cosmic rays and everything, they were able to figure out how to harness the cosmic rays themselves because they saw that the Fantastic Four had acquired powers from there and like, ah shit, that ain't good, and pretty much started experimenting on their own people. This also lines up with Johnny talking to the unparalleled Sky, as she's pretty much given the good version of like, oh, she became one of the unparalleled because during that scan, when they were pretty much trying to figure out who her soulmate was, it was Johnny, and that's why he was pretty much pulled towards Spire, as well as she was kind of pulled towards him. We see this as they're kind of pretty much talking throughout and kind of having an interesting kind of chemistry. It's the kind of beginning of it. There's the kind of clashing of like, hey, your birds are kind of annoying me. What are you talking about with this whole like soul bonding and everything? And how she's like, yeah, I beat your ass kind of shit. And Johnny's like, well, it's not that I don't trust you, but reality kind of fucks with me a lot. He's like just trying to be making sure, because he actually does get that sense of kind of like comfort and everything from the whole soul binding process, and does kind of feel a connection with Scott. So it's like, okay, we'll kind of have to see how this goes. But she's talking about how she sacrificed everything and he pretty much just had an accident. I'm like, yeah, but even though he kind of had an accident and became a hero and you kind of pursued it, both are very valid options. Johnny had something happen to him and he made the choice to be a hero and use those powers for good. You went through your process to become a hero and actually get towards Johnny and have your soulmate. So it's like, okay, see how that kind of goes. We see, of course, the riffs of one of the unparalleled was like, hey, she was supposed to be my intended, so we'll have to see kind of what goes on with that. And we, of course, see towards the end of it that she wants to propose an experiment of kissing, and that's kind of where it lines up with the rest of what happens with like the Thing and Reed and Sue. Reed and Sue get the information that they've harnessed cosmic radiation and have been pretty much experimenting on people. The successes of getting powers are the unparalleled, and the failures are, of course, are the monster people. We get that in the Thing's whole kind of fight and everything, as Scrum is kind of explaining it. And Reed's like, I figured out what else you're doing, because the Overseer's like, hey, we can stop this practice. And I was like, that's not the only secret you've got, you son of a bitch. And he's like, well, we'll just kind of kill you then. But of course, they're able to get out. Sue uses her powers to pretty much make him invisible for a little bit as they're able to break out. And by the way, I really like Reed and Sue's costumes and kind of Fantastic Four style, where Reed's kind of like these kind of got flowing robes, and how Sue's kind of got this interesting kind of looking jumpsuit. And I kind of liked how they were talking about, yeah, they got like two Thors and a Hydro Man and a Captain America. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? Hey, the translators work, but they don't provide cultural context. I'm just like, yes. So they're kind of going out as they're, of course, chased by the people that have the powers of the sun, and they pretty much use Sue's powers to make it into four to kind of get everybody kind of back together and be like, hey, we're over here. So Johnny, of course, sees it, and after the Thing beats King Scrum and pretty much becomes the new leader and gives a pep talk to everybody about, like, hey, you guys aren't monsters. I got a wife. She's great, and she loves me for what's inside, and decides to pretty much lead them out and up into the city. So it's like, Okay. So we've got Reed and Sue escaping and pretty much trying to figure out what's going on. We got Johnny kind of acclimating, and Ben doing an unintentional monster revolution. That's a pretty interesting place. I mean, we got a lot of good kind of action with like Ben doing his thing, and a lot of good information that didn't really get kind of bogged down. So I'm excited to kind of see where this story arc starts to end and like go from here. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.